guys, so this is Fuwetsky with a little bit of a different video today. Well, as some of you have seen, I've been streaming some Pokemon Go recently. Um, yes, it was obviously spoofing, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to, stream with a setup and a layout. And I have had people come on the stream and be pretty aggressive about it, and I understand why these people, have a very strict opinion of spoofing in Pokemon Go and what it actually represents. So I decided I would do a video here to really explain my opinion on spoofing, like what are the pros and cons of spoofing and where are the gray zones, and basically the limits of spoofing and what Niantic can actually do to prevent or to reduce any reason or motivation for spoofing for different players. So I will start by saying I do not promote spoofing. I do not say that it is absolutely wrong, because there are some pros. There are some good things with spoofing. There are obviously some bad things with spoofing. So I will explain, what I actually think is the good part of spoofing and what is the bad part of spoofing. So I will start by saying the pros of spoofing, things that help the community or other players, or that do not harm any other players. So first of all, it gives a chance to rural or disabled people to play the game. So let's say you have an injury, you're in a wheelchair, or just you live very far away from any gym or any Pokestop. Spoofing can actually help you enjoy the game. And in my situation, I'm not in like the worst position, but I definitely am not in the best. If I check around my house, there's one Pokestop, well, two Pokestops, and one is like a very small park, and the other one is like a church, which doesn't give any good Pokemon. Like the best I've seen since I live here, so since 2017, I've seen one Beldum at this church. That's it. And at this park, maybe like for like a week, it was a Scyther nest, so there were like 3 Scythers, and the best one I caught was like 700 CP. Did I ever get anything good at those 2 Pokestops? No. I got some items, like when I didn't know spoofing, I didn't touch spoofing, I didn't do anything spoofing. I was like completely an in-person, a physical player. Like I would go out at night at like 10 or 11 p.m. and just like go spin a Pokestop, so I can actually get my my research breakthrough. So that's one thing that actually helps players. Like they can actually go and collect items, etc., much easier, and they do not have to fall back on in-game purchases to get items like Pokeballs, or like evolutionary items. Well, it's not, you cannot purchase them, but you can have a higher chance of getting those things, etc. So having access to gyms and Pokestops, getting coins also via the gyms is very important, because you get egg incubators, you get the opportunity to buy raid passes, etc. So having access to gyms is very important. However, I do not spoof like right next to my house. I think that kills the purpose. Like if I am gonna spoof, I'm gonna spoof outside of my hometown. So I'm probably gonna go somewhere like New York, Paris, San Francisco, Santa Monica. The Santa Monica Pier, where Mystic 7 goes, is like always, it's like there's spoofers there 24/7. So anyways, rare, regional, and weather condition only Pokemon. So let's say you're somewhere where there's never gonna be any snow. Snorunt is gonna be pretty much impossible to get. because it heavily depends on the weather. Pokemon that are like extremely rare, like let's say you have there's a wild Togetic, a wild Dragonite, a wild Charizard. That's something that you can actually get, even though it's not the highest CP. You can actually get the candies for, and maybe trade it with someone else, and maybe get lucky or get even more candies. Regionals. Let's go check on the regionals page. Let's see if there's anything good. Farfetch is not a good Pokemon at all. Candy Sun is not bad. It's definitely a decent normal type. Mr. Mime is not bad either. It's got some pretty good moves like Shadow Ball, Confusion, etc. Maybe in PvP I haven't used it, but it's not a bad Pokemon. I caught it in person. I caught it physically during my trip in Europe last summer. So I don't have any problem saying that I got some perfectly legit, and they were actually released in eggs for a short while, so everybody now has access to it. Same thing for, I believe Kangaskhan was also released in eggs, but like it was extremely rare. Anyways, Tauros is in my region, so I have like probably caught 300-400. Heracross is a super good Pokemon. If you actually go on what's it called? It's the there's on Game Press. There's the DPS TDO chart here. Let me just go and show you. If you go at let's go here. If you actually go here and you rank by moves, Heracross is the third best fighting type. So, did I actually get something wrong? I believe so. Because Machamp is, hold on, refresh best. Alright, sorry, it's the 5th best. Machamp always being the first one. Same thing for Hariyama, which is a budget. Riolu has high DPS but a pretty low TDO. Blaziken is probably going to be used like mostly as a fire type now that Community Day was announced, and Heracross is right there. It's not bad either for a bug type here. So if I actually rank it, it's 5th. So it's definitely not the best, like compared to Pinsir and Scizor, but it's decent. Like it's a good alternative option, and if they actually release better moves, it's actually going to be even better. But I don't expect that because they don't give like a lot of attention to regionals. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, let's go and take a look at the other regionals. Corsola, just a fun Pokemon to have. Torkoal I saw in PvP is definitely not a bad Pokemon. Zangoose the Viper, they alternate. Same thing for Solrock, Lunatone. Like the migrations here. Relican, very good Pokemon. It's not like amazing, but it was a very good counter to Pokemon like Moltres during raids. It's a pretty good flying type attacker. Well, it attacks flying types and fire types really well because it has a single or double resistance. Illumise will be not too good. Tropius is excellent in PvP, etc. So there's a lot of good regional Pokemon that people have a reason to spoof for. So that's one thing you need to remember. Next, helping friends with raids. I've had lots of friends ask me to help them because maybe they were like only 2 or 3 for a tier 5 raid and they couldn't do it alone. So they said like, are you available to come and help us? Maybe I was at work, maybe I was at home, or maybe like there were only a few minutes left. I said like, okay, let me just get on one of my accounts and go and help you out. And that's it. I was able to help them. They were able to complete the raid. They were happy. I was happy. I got the Pokemon. They got the Pokemon. Everybody was happy. Like, I didn't harm anybody. I actually helped some people. So that's it. Another thing that is giving more and more reasons to people spoof is trading. Trading should be the same way as PvP. If you're a high level friendship, like let's say 3 or 4 stars, I don't it's best or ultra friends, you should be able to trade with those people. However, they decided to make in sort that you need to be, I think it's 100 meters, 100 feet away from that other player in order to trade, which is absolutely stupid. Well, I kind of understand that at the same time where it comes from. Like, it would be too easy to trade some regional Pokemon, rare Pokemon, and they actually want people to get together. But why do they also do that for PvP? So I don't really understand. It should be all the same way. Like, you either cannot trade in battle from a distance, or you can do it. Like, I just don't know where it comes from. I see lots of reasons why they would actually change that to long distance trades being a thing. Anyways, candy grinding, of course, is super important in Pokemon if you want to actually power up some Pokemon. Like, you know, there's some dragons like Dratini, Bagon, etc. Larvitar, like the pseudo legendaries are super rare. Chansey is a super rare spawn. Tangela should be there. There should be more Tangela. Unfortunately, there's not enough. Pokemon like that have evolutions. Lickitung, it's another one that comes to mind. You should be able to see more of those Pokemon, and it comes to a point where, you know, you're gonna want to evolve your Tangela or your Lickitung, and it costs 100 candies plus the Sinnoh. So people will be enticed to go and spoof to, you know, at least get a good one with more candies, so they don't have to use a rare candy for a Pokemon that you know, they won't be using very often in PvP or gyms or raids. So I personally would not hesitate to go and catch 100% Tangela if I saw one, because, you know, it's just a pretty rare Pokemon in my area, which is like 150,000 people city or something, but it's made so there's like very few clusters. There's basically no nests in my town, so Pokemon like that are going to be pretty hard to get, and you can basically not farm a specific Pokemon in nest, because like the bigger ones are going to be like a 5 or 6 compared to New York, where you can go in Central Park or other places like San Francisco, where there's going to be parks in the city or around the city with like 10, 15, 20 spawns of the same Pokemon, and most often it's actually going to be good Pokemon, like, you know, Ghastly, Magnemite, etc., and you can also get a shiny. So candy grinding was a pretty good reason. Playing from work during breaks, or, you know, you come back late from work and raids are over. In Canada, I think they expanded it. They extended the raid time to, I think, 9 p.m. But in the United States, and I believe in some states, if not all states, it is only until 7 p.m. So if you get off work at 6:30, you're gonna have very small or limited chances to get a raid, or maybe you won't even be able to get a raid. So yeah, playing from work during breaks, like, you know, you just want to go and do a raid, you don't have time to go out, you only have a 30-minute break. Also, evolving Pokemon later after community days. So let's say you caught so a lot of good Bagons during the last community day, but you made trades afterwards and it took you more than an hour, and you actually got some luckies with, like, you know, 96, 98 or 100%, and unfortunately you're not able to evolve them because it's too late. Well, if you do that and you can spoof to, you know, California or Hawaii and evolve your Pokemon much later on, and, you know, you have the best chance to evolve your best Bagon, and you have more candies because you were able to do some trades. So that's another thing. Finding good potential shinies during community days and sharing them with friends. You can actually scan and see around you if there's like any good level or good IV, let's say Bagons in the most recent case. A friend was able to see a level 28 93% Bagon, so him and other guys went there, and two of them got that shiny. So it was much better for them to actually do that than maybe, just walk around, catch anything, and hope that one or two shinies are actually going to be worth powering up. They were able to find something that they knew they would be comfortable with powering up right away. So that's one thing. As I said, looking for IVs and shinies. You need specific IVs to get in Great League, Master League, or you just want a shiny that you don't have and it's pretty rare in your city. So you can actually find nests or just look for those Pokemon. And sharing EX raids. So maybe you're not able to attend a raid and you want to share it. Instead of like losing it, actually you can maybe spoof there, or you can share with someone else that will also be able to go even though they're not close. So let's say you have a raid in a city that's like 2 hours away. You're probably not gonna go there just for a Deoxys, but if you can actually spoof there, it's actually worth it, because you're at least you get your Pokemon. What are the gray zones, in my opinion? Taking things that are understandable but can be a source of conflict, or do not or are not clear with all spoofers or players how they should be dealt with. Taking free spots in gyms. If there's only one or two Pokemon in a gym and it's like 1 or 2 a.m. in that city, I do not see anything wrong with putting a Pokemon there. However, if you're gonna go and rush a gym that just got taken down, and you put your Pokemon there, and you prevent a local player from getting in the gym, I see more of a problem with that, because maybe they were part of the team that took it down, and they basically used their Pokemon, and they used their Pokemon's health to free up that gym, but they're not able to put their Pokemon in there. So that's a bit of a problem. The concept of limited time events, so let's say research days, community days, etc., they're meant to be a limited time thing. So a community day is 3 hours plus the evolution period of 1 hour afterwards. You have like the research days. I think the latest one was Lotad, which was a bit longer. It was like 8 hours, I believe. So that's not bad. You're able to chill and still get quite a few shinies if you're in a decent sized city and you have like a reasonable amount of Pokestops. But if you do that over the world, and you get more than 8 hours, you get like 10 or 15 hours of gameplay on that event, and you're able to do like 2 or 3 times the community day period, it can be a little bit more unfair to players, because you get a lot more of a Pokemon that is meant to be rare, and you can actually you can trade it and without being very much penalized, because you still have more than other players, and you're able to monetize it. Well, not monetize it, but get something better for it that you normally wouldn't be able to. So I see a little problem with that. Also, people who just play lazy, even if they're in good areas. In my case, I do not consider myself to be a lazy player, because when there are community days, etc., I admit I do spoof, but do I still go out and play physically. Um, for Beldam Day, it was like super cold. It was windy and it was rainy. Um, like, well, there was like a mix of rain and snow. Like everybody gets sick, but I still went out there. I played, and I had fun. I got a few Beldams outside playing like physically with my friends, and afterwards I decided to go and uh, make some trades, and we got good Beldams, and I got more candies, and I was able to still get more than enough to build some good teams. Uh, so I do play physically, even if like I'm not in the greatest area, but someone who will just like always play from their home, even though they're in a big city, like let's say you're in Philadelphia, you're in New York, you're in San Francisco, Paris, etc., where you can go easily. Uh, you can easily go out and play and like have a very good uh, time playing, and you have like lots of Pokemon, and some people will just spoof right around the corner. I do see a problem with that because the concept of the game is to explore and to go out. So people who cannot, or people for who it's going to be very expensive, fine. Like if you mix the two, you spoof, but you also go like play physically pretty often, like more than 50% of the time, perfectly fine with that. But people who just play lazy, even though they have like a great area, maybe that's a little bit more of a gray zone, a little bit more controversial. Also, spoofing leads to unfairness, and people will, they will want to share their accounts, and there's also the risk of getting your account stolen. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and Reddit, etc., that say, "Oh, I've known this guy for a while. He spoofs, and I just wanted one regional that he could get me. I gave him my account, and then he started abusing it. So he traded away some of my Pokemon that I really cared about, like old Pokemon, and he gave himself some Luckies without asking me." Those are things that you gotta deal with if you accept to share your account. I have one of my friends who did the meltdown box for like I think close to 1,000 people. People send him their login. He just he connects on their account. He gives them the meltdown box, and he gives the account back. So that was excellent. Like everybody was happy. There was never a problem. But unfortunately, not everybody has a great heart like my friend who did the meltdown boxes has a great heart. So sometimes you can get in trouble, and people will abuse your and break your trust, and they will abuse your account. So the real cons of spoofing, like there's no doubt that it's causing a problem. Taking down gyms from local or physical players. There's a story in my hometown. There is one guy, I don't know why he does that. He spoofs only in the city. He doesn't go anywhere else. He just spoofs here. And he's a guy, like, the city I live in is called Sherbrooke. He always spoofs in Sherbrooke because, it's not a super large city. So sometimes you just go and you put your Pokemon in a gym, and something like in a park late at like in summer it was like 9, like the sun was going down. So you go and you put your Pokemon in a gym, you get back in your car, and Pokemon got taken out from the gym already. And then you see who took over. It's the same guy that keeps spoofing. The guy lives like 10 minutes away. Instead of coming by foot and like going to take down the gym, he's gonna spoof right next to his house and take down the gym. So there's 1 or 2 times the guy actually came out to play, like for I think there was like the Moltres Day or something like that, and people saw him, And let's say I wouldn't have liked to be in his place because he got pushed around, he got insulted, and you know, I wasn't a spoofer at this time, but I understood like if I ever was given the opportunity to spoof, or if I ever started spoofing, I would never ever take down a gym from, you know, as you would call legit players, because they do the effort to go and take down gyms and put their Pokemon in to get their coins, and then you are sitting on your couch drinking a beer, watching football or hockey, whatever, and you decide to go and mess with their effort. Like, you go and ruin their effort. I have a big problem with that, and I never would do that, even to like people from other cities. When I put a Pokemon in a gym, it's because I was there and I took down the gym myself. So unfortunately, not everyone is honest enough to do that. The other thing, you get much lesser satisfaction from for any milestone or success. Every Pokemon that's 100% that I get, you know, in real life, I care about them way more. That's something that I went there and spoofed. Because spoofing isn't an effort. It's something that you just take and you use it. You go and you get like a level 35, 100% Larvitar, and then you evolve into Tyranitar. That thing is not rewarding. However, if you find a shiny Larvitar in your backyard and it's like a 67% and you power it up to a level 30 plus shiny Tyranitar, that is rewarding. So of course the shinies I get in person are way more of a prize trophy to me and something that I spoofed for. Same thing for 100% and, you know, regional, etc. So most of the time regionals, like let's say Chatot, Carnivine, probably gonna trade them away or just release them, because, you know, I'm probably gonna keep like only one just to have it and, you know, take some Go snapshots. But otherwise, I don't really feel any satisfaction in using them. So I have like one or two Heracross, and that's it. Same thing for, you know, other Pokemon like Tropius. I think I have like one and that's it. Even though I caught probably like 30, I decided to trade them all away or just release them, because I do not feel very proud of keeping that in my storage. And there's also the question of fair play. Why is it fair to be part of the community when you have access to tools that not everybody has? Then again, you can come back to the first section, like, you know, giving a fair territory, an equal territory to everyone. Unfortunately, life's not fair, but when you actually alterate things to give yourself an unfair advantage, there's a problem with that. That's why I do not do gyms anymore for most of the time. Also because, you know, if I do gyms, I put a Pokemon that I caught legit, because you know, I wouldn't put 100% Blissey level 35 if I caught it in Ukraine, because I never went to Ukraine and I didn't get that. So I'm probably gonna put like my, you know, level 27, 87% slacking, way more than I would put that Blissey, because, you know, it's not a Pokemon that I caught like going out. So I will always put a Pokemon that I caught physically in gym, to give a fair chance to people to actually, you know, take me down, because that's the goal of the game. You don't want your Pokemon to be there for a week. You want it to be there like just enough to get your coins and come back. So I won't ever put something that I caught unfairly in gyms. And, you know, for raids, it's another thing. I will definitely use my stronger Pokemon, because I want to help my team. But for PvP, I do not really do PvP. I collect Pokemon that I will eventually use for PvP. But then again, everybody has access to most Pokemon that are allowed in PvP. Except for like Pokemon like Tropius, etc. Like there's a few good Pokemon here that could be used in PvP, but you don't really see them. And most of the time you can actually get them in trades from other people that did spoof or did get them in person, and then try to get a lower CP and power it up until you get something right for the Great League for any tournaments. So that's pretty much my take on spoofing. I would like to know what you guys think about it. Why is spoofing good or bad, and what's your limit? Where do you put the line on that's acceptable, that's not acceptable in a social game context? Because if it was a single player game, like you're in GTA, you're just hacking, you do what you want. GTA is a game that is known for being super moddable and super fun to play when it's modded. However, Pokemon is something that there's a little bit of a controversy with it, and I went on Reddit to see the impact of spoofing and people who tried it and give their opinion. So this guy tried it a little bit. I didn't think spoofing was okay or fair to begin with, but after having tried it, blah blah blah, there's no justifications for spoofing in game. That was 2 years ago, before probably many changes. Now trade is the biggest reason why you would spoof, or it's trading in regionals. Really ridiculously unfair. I agree. There's no debate in that. There's always a question of advantage over people that play the game regularly. But then again, spoofing is free to everybody. There are some paid softwares iSpoofer, Pokégo plus. There's multiple ways to spoof for free, or to have a better version of an app. I personally think iSpoofer is a very good paid software. I do not promote them. I'm not representing them, but I think it's probably the best one. Then again, you just go and do what you want. If you decide to take the risk to spoof and then you just go and get the regionals, that's fine. You can also wait for your friend to spoof to your place to do trades. But then again, it's kind of unfair because you asked someone to take all the risk for you. So, what's your take? Where do you think is the limit? And what do you think Niantic should actually do to prevent spoofing or reduce the temptation for spoofing? I think they should start with making trades worldwide. You can trade with anyone, at least that is a best friend, ultra friend. Same thing for, pretty much the same thing as PvP. Maybe also increase gyms in smaller cities, and increase raids, increase raid durations. That would be another thing. And there's a lot of things that can be done. Maybe put a personal Pokestop. So let's say when you hit level 30, you can put a Pokestop on the map. It's going to be your Pokestop. Only you can see it, and at least you're able to spin. And there's always going to be 1 or 2 Pokemon that will spawn there every 10 or 15 minutes. So at least you have a little bit of something to play with. So the personal Pokestop is another thing that people have brought up. When you hit a certain level, have your own Pokestop. That only you will see it, or maybe you and your best ultra friends or something. Anyways, there's a lot of possibilities that can actually help the game in that dimension. So thank you guys so much for watching. Give me your opinion in the comments. Let me know what you think. I will see you all in the next video. Peace!